The first wave came without warning. Across the galaxy, echoes poured through rifts in space, a tide of darkness that unmade reality itself. The Kroth Collective's homeworld vanished in seconds. The vast neural network that had ruled for 1,000 years erased in an instant. The Zendariai's holy temples crumbled into dust. The ancient race that had witnessed the birth of the universe was silenced forever. Entire fleets, ships, soldiers, planets, ceased to exist. And the echoes? They didn't speak. They didn't negotiate. They consumed. The last war had begun. Back on Exert 4, Ethan stood on the ruins of the battlefield, staring into the storm of chaos unfolding across the stars. Vice Captain Relkar, battered and bloodied, limped to his side. "Ethan, what do we do?" Ethan's expression was hollow. For the first time in 1,000 years he had been given a choice. Run. Or fight. His hands curled into fists. He was tired. So damn tired. But if he didn't fight, no one would. When the echoes descended upon Exert 4, expecting another easy victory, Ethan met them. And this time he didn't hold back. He moved faster than light, his body warping space itself as he tore through the first wave of echoes. His first strike sent a shockwave that ripped the ground apart for miles. His second strike annihilated dozens of echoes at once. His third strike broke reality itself. The echoes screamed not in pain but in fear. Because the last weapon of humanity had returned. And he wasn't fighting to survive. He was fighting to end them. On the Imperial Citadel, the remaining rulers of the galaxy watched the battle in horror. Ethan Cross was destroying the echoes. But he was also rewriting reality itself. The Zendarii High Theologian gasped. "He's using the same power as them?" Admiral Vorkan clenched his jaw. "If he wins, what happens to the rest of us?" The answer was simple. Nothing could stop him. The Vrail Prime Minister whispered the one thought none of them dared voice. "We have to kill him." Ethan sensed it before it happened. The moment the Council of Titans issued the order. Across the galaxy, every remaining fleet, ZYX warships, Vrail battlecruisers, even the shattered remnants of the Kroth Collective, turned their weapons toward Exert 4. They weren't just going to kill Ethan. They were going to erase the entire planet. Vice Captain Relkar's face drained of color. "Ethan. Too late." The barrage began. A wave of energy cannons, antimatter bombs, quantum warheads, enough firepower to obliterate a star. It all fell toward Exert 4. And toward Ethan Cross. For a single moment Ethan felt something strange. Not fear. Not anger. Acceptance. They had always feared him. Even after everything he had done. Even after everything he had sacrificed. They had feared what he could become. And now they had made the worst mistake of all. Because Ethan Cross was done playing by their rules. As the barrage struck the surface of Exert 4, the planet exploded. A detonation so massive, so impossibly powerful, that it tore through spacetime itself. The Council of Titans watched in triumph, only for their victory to turn to terror. Because when the light faded, Ethan Cross was still standing. Not just alive. Changed. Something inside him had broken free. Something beyond human. Something beyond the echoes. He looked up at the stars, at the ships that had just tried to erase him. His voice echoed across the cosmos. "Your rule was simple. Do not wake the human. Now you will understand why." The stars dimmed. Ethan raised his hand. And across the galaxy, the fleets of every empire that had betrayed him began to vanish. Not destroyed. Erased. The Council of Titans screamed in horror as their fleets, millions of ships, trillions of lives, vanished from existence. The ZYX Dominion. Gone. The Vrail Consortium. Gone. The Zendarii Empire. Gone. In mere seconds, the greatest civilizations in history were nothing but a memory. And Ethan? Ethan closed his eyes. And for the first time since the war began, there was silence. Vice Captain Relkar, the last survivor of the Vrain, stared at Ethan in absolute terror. What have you done?" Ethan exhaled. "I ended it." Relkar swallowed. "So what happens now?" Ethan looked up at the empty sky. "Now there's only one rule." Relkar's voice shook. "And what's that?" Ethan's eyes burned like dying stars. "Never wake me up again." Ethan Cross was never seen again. The echoes vanished, retreating into the void. The surviving species rebuilt, whispering of the day the human destroyed the old order. But in the dark corners of the universe, among the ruins of forgotten empires, one message remained, carved into the walls of dead worlds. Etched onto the remains of fallen civilizations. A single warning. A new rule. Do not wake the human. ever. The end. Final thoughts and next steps. This concludes the story, but if you'd like an epilogue expansion, a sequel, or a spin-off, let me know. We could explore. What happens to Ethan after? A new enemy rising after centuries of peace? A hidden civilization that survived and remembers the war? Let me know what you'd like next. The Galactic Council had made a fatal mistake. They believed humanity would protest, negotiate, or plead for reason. Instead, humanity struck with the precision of a scalpel and the wrath of a storm. The first battle of the war had already been fought, and won. Now it was time for the first strike. The galaxy had always known humanity as stubborn, a minor race that defied its lowly status, clawing its way to relevance. But now, for the first time, the galaxy knew humanity as something else entirely. A threat. The images of the Council Station massacre spread across the hyperwave networks at light speed. Footage of Admiral Elias Carter standing over the bodies of fallen Council delegates was played on every news feed. The headlines varied by species, but the message was the same. Humans have declared war. On the throne world of the Viari Dominion, Supreme Warlord Zalvar watched the footage in growing fury. They dare to spill Viari blood? He hissed, his mandibles twitching in rage. These primitives, these insects dare to challenge us? His war council remained silent. Zalvar turned to his advisors. Mobilize the Dominion fleet. We will show them their place. Across the galaxy, similar discussions were happening. The Threxian Empire, the Zykari technocracy, and the Kathari syndicates all prepared for war. They would crush humanity beneath their boots. Or so they thought. They had yet to witness the true fury of an enraged species. On board the UTR Warspite, Fleet Admiral Naomi Vasquez reviewed the battle plans. We move fast. We move hard, she said, addressing the assembled officers. The Council thinks we're playing defense. We're about to teach them how wrong they are. She tapped the holo display, bringing up a planetary system marked V8RH3, one of the Dominion's largest slave processing centers. Our first strike will be here. There was no hesitation. The Viari had enslaved tens of thousands of humans over the years, treating them as disposable labor. That ended today. How fast can we be there? Asked Captain Leon Graves, commander of the SS Reaper. We'll hit the system in 6 hours, Vasquez replied. And when we do, we leave nothing standing. The officers nodded. The war had begun. 6 hours later, the first human warships arrived in the Viari system. The Viari defenders weren't ready. They had expected a political backlash. Perhaps some economic retaliation. They hadn't expected humanity to send an armada. The first Terran fleet dropped out of warp, 36 warships strong. Cruisers, destroyers, and assault frigates moved with terrifying precision. The Viari defense grid attempted to scramble fighters, but before their first squadrons even launched, humanity struck. All batteries, fire. The warships of Earth answered with railguns, mass drivers, and kinetic bombardments that reduced entire Viari stations to debris. The planetary defenses activated in a panic, their plasma cannons opening fire, but human warships had adaptive countermeasures. Advanced AI-assisted evasion algorithms allowed them to weave through the incoming fire with deadly efficiency. On the ground, the Viari overseers screamed orders, forcing their human slaves to the front lines. Was a mistake. Because the moment the human soldiers saw their own people in chains, something shifted. The battle stopped being a military operation. It became vengeance. From orbit, drop pods rained down like meteors, slamming into the ground with earth-shattering impact. And then the Reapers emerged. The Terran Special Forces, known only as Reapers, were humanity's deadliest warriors. They fought in black armor, their visors glowing with eerie red light. Each of them carried advanced rail rifles, sidearms, and monomolecular combat blades that could slice through Viari exoskeletons with ease. They weren't just here to liberate the slaves. They were here to eradicate the slavers. In the first 30 minutes, they had already secured half the processing facilities. By the 2-hour mark, every Viari overseer in the region was dead. Some had tried to flee. None had made it. Commander Darius Khan, leader of the Reaper Strike Team Alpha, stepped over the twitching body of a Viari warden, his pulse rifle still warm from the kill. Status report, he said, his voice cold. We've secured 70% of the camp, replied his second-in-command, Lieutenant Rachel Ives. The prisoners, they're in bad shape. Khan looked around. Emaciated men, women, and even children stared at them with hollow eyes. Some wept at the sight of their liberators. Others simply collapsed, too weak to even speak. Khan clenched his fists. Get them medical attention, he said. Get them food. Get them home. He turned toward his troops. As for the Viari, he looked at the remaining slavers, cowering in the ruins of their broken empire. Kill every last one. And they did. 3 hours later, the Battle of Akaris Prime was over. The first Terran fleet had suffered minimal losses. The Viari defenses were obliterated. Over 50,000 human slaves had been rescued. And the Viari Dominion had just lost an entire sector. But the most devastating blow came in the form of a broadcast. Across the galaxy, every hyperwave station transmitted the same message. The camera feed displayed Admiral Elias Carter, standing over the charred remains of a Viari palace. His uniform was pristine. His eyes were cold. The Galactic Council enslaved our people. We have liberated them. You called us weak. You called us primitive. You thought we would bow forever. You were wrong. The camera panned to Warlord Zalvar's second-in-command, now on his knees, blood dripping from his mandibles. Carter knelt beside him, gripping the alien by the throat. We tried peace. The plasma knife in his hand hummed. You rejected it. A flash of steel. The alien warlord's severed head hit the ground. Now, we retaliate. The feed cut out. The galaxy froze. The Viari Dominion erupted into chaos. The news of humanity's attack spread like wildfire. Worlds began to riot. Citizens panicked. Entire military divisions deserted, refusing to fight a war they knew they would lose. The Galactic Council convened an emergency meeting. The chairman of the Zakari technocracy slammed his fist against the table. They're terrorists, madmen. We must destroy them before they spread. They're not terrorists, a Kathari diplomat whispered, her fur standing on edge. There's something else. The Threxian warlord exhaled slowly, his reptilian tongue flicking nervously. They're angry. The Zakari chairman scoffed. So what? Let them rage. The Threxian's eyes darkened. You don't understand. He leaned forward. They've stopped holding back. The first strike was over. The war was just beginning. And the galaxy? The galaxy was about to learn what happened when humanity's patience finally snapped. The galaxy had always told itself a lie. A comforting story about its own invincibility. The great empires, the ancient civilizations, the rulers of 1,000 stars, untouchable, eternal. That lie was dead now. Humanity had burned it to the ground. The Galactic Council chamber was a place of power, ornate, ancient, and carved from the bones of long-dead empires. It was also in chaos. Representatives from every major species shouted over each other, their voices a cacophony of rage and fear. This is unacceptable, screeched Warlord Zalvar of the Viari, his mandibles clicking violently. They wiped out an entire Dominion sector in a single day. Where was our intelligence? Where was our military response? The Zakari chairman slammed his hand against the table. We underestimated them. We believed they were weak. And you were wrong, hissed High Matriarch Stala of the Kathari syndicates. The humans have warships that outmaneuver our fleets. Their soldiers fight without hesitation. Their strategies are unpredictable. We've never seen warfare like this. The Threxian general leaned forward, his scaled brow furrowed. And worst of all, his voice dropped. They are not afraid of us. Silence. That was the terrifying truth. For centuries the Galactic Council had ruled through fear. The Council's fleets were unmatched. Their technology was the pinnacle of civilization. Their armies crushed entire worlds with ease. Until now, humanity had not only defied them, they had hunted them. They had erased an entire sector of Viari space and broadcast their victory for the whole galaxy to see. The lie of galactic supremacy had been shattered. And the galaxy had finally realized, humanity had never been weak. They had been civilized. And now they weren't pretending anymore. The Council was not going to sit idle. Within hours, the largest armada assembled in over a century was mobilized. A peacekeeping fleet, a massive show of force meant to crush humanity in one swift strike. 500 warships. A fleet greater than anything humanity had ever faced. They called it the Retaliation Fleet. Their mission: destroy every human colony beyond Sol. The Council's leaders watched from their grand war rooms, convinced that the next news transmission would be one of human surrender. They did not realize they had just made their final mistake. The Retaliation Fleet dropped out of warp at Wolf 359, a strategic system on the edge of human space. They expected a slaughter. Instead they found nothing. No resistance. No human warships. Just empty space. The Viari admiral leading the fleet narrowed his compound eyes. Where are they? His second-in-command chittered. Scans show. Bing. A sensor alert. The Viari turned to the main display. His mandibles twitched. The stars themselves were shifting. Wait. Not stars. Stealth ships. They saw the attack coming too late. From the darkness, hundreds of human warships decloaked, revealing themselves from their stealth formation. They had been waiting. And now the trap was sprung. All ships, fire. The retaliation fleet never stood a chance. Human warships were smaller but faster. More advanced than the Council had ever realized. Their railguns fired at near-light speed, ripping through enemy hulls before shields could even activate. The Voidlands-class battleships, experimental Terran warships equipped with gravitic destabilizers, tore enemy vessels apart by bending space itself. The retaliation fleet, designed to crush humanity, was reduced to wreckage in minutes. The Council had sent 500 ships. Only 7 escaped. News of the ambush at Wolf 359 spread faster than light. Entire species watched in horror as the impossible happened. For the first time in millennia, the great empires of the Galactic Council had been outmatched, outmaneuvered, and annihilated. And the galaxy took notice. For centuries, dozens of species had lived under the Council's oppression. Their resources stolen. Their people enslaved. Their voices silenced. Now, they saw hope. The Sarkari Enclave, long a vassal of the Threxians, declared independence. The Kelran nomads, once scattered and leaderless, formed a unified front against their overlords. Even the Katheri, once loyal to the Council, hesitated. Because they had seen something terrifying. They had seen humanity win. Back in the galactic capital, the Council scrambled for a solution. "We must sue for peace," said the Katheri matriarch, her fur bristling. "We must escalate," roared the Zakari chairman, his silver skin gleaming under the chamber's lights. "Deploy the Doomsday Fleet. Bring them to their knees. And risk losing everything?" The Threxian general spat. "The humans are not like the others. If we go too far, they will not stop until we are dust." The Council argued. They fought, they panicked, they blamed each other. And then, the transmission came in. A human broadcast. What? The chamber fell silent. The screen flickered to life. Admiral Elias Carter stood on the bridge of the UTR Warspite, staring directly into the camera. His uniform was crisp. His expression was stone-cold fury. "Your fleet is gone. Your war is lost. You told yourselves a lie. You believed yourselves invincible. You thought we were weak. You thought we were afraid." He leaned forward. "Now you understand the truth." The screen split into live feeds from multiple galactic capitals. Human fleets were already there. Not attacking. Just waiting. A silent, undeniable message. Surrender. Or we finish what we started. The Council leaders stared in horror. Because they knew. Humanity wasn't just winning. They had already won. The galaxy now faced a choice, submit or be erased. And every species knew, this was only the beginning. The Galactic Council had ruled for centuries. Their fleets were vast, their armies countless. They had crushed rebellions, enslaved entire species, and maintained control with absolute authority. But power built on fear is fragile. And now, as humanity stood at the gates of their greatest strongholds, the Council realized the truth too late. Their empire was dying. The Galactic Council's once proud high command center was in turmoil. For centuries, this fortified war room had been the beating heart of the galaxy's most powerful government. Now it was filled with fear. The Council members sat at their grand table, their holographic displays projecting terrifying images. Binari 3? Fallen. Wolf 359? Annihilated. Entire Council fleets? Erased. The room was silent except for the sound of a single finger tapping against the polished table. Chairman Zaval, leader of the Zakari technocracy, stared at the reports with unblinking crimson eyes. "This cannot be happening," he murmured. "It is happening," growled Warlord Zalvar of the Viari, his mandibles clicking erratically. "We are losing." "We do not lose," snapped Threxian High General Vorsk, his reptilian tail flicking in agitation. "We are the Galactic Council. The greatest empire in history." "We were," muttered Matriarch Stala of the Katheri, her feline eyes narrowed. Zalvar slammed a clawed fist onto the table. "Then we must strike back. Send everything we have left. We still outnumber the humans 10 to 1. The holographic display flickered, revealing a new battlefield report. Zaval's voice was hollow. "We did." They all turned. The latest fleet sent to crush humanity, 300 warships strong, was gone. A single transmission had been recovered before the fleet was obliterated. We are the sword in the dark. We are the storm that shatters empires. This war is over, you just don't know it yet. Humanity had sent only 50 ships to meet them. And they had won. The council was unraveling. But some refused to surrender. We cannot allow humanity to continue unchecked, Vorsk hissed. If we fall, they will come for our worlds next. Then what do you propose? Matriarch Stala asked, her tail flicking. Vorsk's scaled lips curled into something that might have been a smile. We burn them. Zaval frowned. Explain? Vorsk stood and activated a hidden security protocol. The table shifted, revealing an ancient war project, long thought abandoned. A planet-killer weapon. A device so devastating that entire civilizations had been erased by its use in the past. The Scorched Earth Plan, Vorsk said. We use it on Earth itself. If we cannot win, we will end them. There was a heavy silence. Then, slowly, Zalvar's mandibles curled into a grin. Yes. Zaval hesitated. Are we certain? If we deploy this weapon. It's too late for mercy, Vorsk spat. The humans refused to submit. If we cannot control them, we destroy them. The decision was made. The Scorched Earth fleet was launched. Destination Earth. The Council believed they were still in control. They weren't. Even as they planned their final strike, humanity was already at their doorstep. The planet of Akaris Prime was the Council's last major stronghold. A fortress world, protected by dozens of fleets and orbital defense grids. It was supposed to be impenetrable. That belief lasted exactly 20 minutes. When the Terran fleet arrived, they didn't send a warning. They didn't negotiate. They struck. Human warships decloaked inside the planetary defenses, launching an impossible assault. The first wave of kinetic strikes ripped through planetary shields like paper. Orbital bombardments followed, destroying military installations with surgical precision. On the ground, Terran special forces deployed en masse. The Kathari garrisons surrendered immediately. They had seen what happened to the Viari. The Threxian elite troops resisted. They died. The Galactic Council's last war room was collapsing. The fortress is lost, a Viari general screamed as explosions shook the command center. Our fleets are gone, shouted Zaval, his usually calm demeanor replaced with sheer panic. We must. The doors exploded inward. In stepped humanity. Admiral Elias Carter led the assault team, his black combat armor streaked with smoke and blood. His pulse rifle was still warm from the last kill. His eyes were cold steel. Zaval took a slow step back. Wait, he whispered. We surrender. Carter didn't blink. You don't get to surrender, he said, his voice even. You had your chance. The human soldiers opened fire. With Akaris Prime taken, the Galactic Council ceased to exist. Every leader who refused to stand down was executed. Those who begged for mercy were allowed to live, on human terms. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. And then, the final blow. The Scorched Earth fleet arrived in the Sol system. Their mission: annihilate Earth. But as they prepared to fire, they realized something was wrong. Their weapons shut down. Their engines stalled. They were dead in space. A single Terran warship decloaked in front of them. From its command deck, a hologram of Admiral Vasquez appeared. Did you really think we didn't know? She asked, tilting her head. We saw this coming before you even planned it. Behind her, hundreds of hidden Terran warships appeared. The Scorched Earth fleet never fired a single shot. Because they never had the chance. Humanity had outplayed them at every turn. Final scene, the New Order. The war was over. The Council was gone. The galaxy stood in stunned silence. For the first time in history, there was no ruling empire. And so, humanity stepped forward. But instead of claiming dominance, they did something no one expected. They offered a choice. We will not rule you. We will not enslave you. But if you ever try to break us again? Carter stared into the holocron, his voice calm. We will burn everything you've ever known. The galaxy listened. And they understood. Humanity had been patient. But that patience had snapped. And now, the galaxy would never forget. A new era had begun. And this time humanity made the rules. The war was over. The Galactic Council was shattered. Their leaders were dead, their fleets destroyed, and their strongholds reduced to rubble. But humanity was not done. Because in the ashes of their victory, they found the Council's last, desperate betrayal. The attempt to erase Earth. They had tried to end humanity's home. And for that, there would be no forgiveness. The galaxy was in ruins. The fall of the Galactic Council had left a power vacuum. Once mighty empires now scrambled for survival. Some species rejoiced, finally free from oppression. Others were terrified, because they knew that the fate of the galaxy now rested in the hands of the humans. In the former capital of the Vaari Dominion, the once mighty warlord Zalvar lay in a ruined palace, his body broken, his power gone. Human forces had toppled his empire in mere days. And now they were coming for the rest. Earth had survived. The scorched Earth fleet had been destroyed before it could fire a single shot. But humanity was not satisfied. They had found the ones responsible. And now they would hunt them to the ends of the galaxy. Admiral Elias Carter stood on the bridge of the UTR Warspite, his gaze cold as he reviewed the target list. The war may be over, he said, but justice has not been served. The last Council loyalists, the ones who had ordered the attack on Earth, were still alive. They had fled to the outer systems, hiding in the lawless void. But there was no hiding from humanity. Carter turned to his fleet. Find them. And end them. The first traitor was found on Rothak 7, a barren world at the edge of known space. Counselor Vorsk, the Threxian leader who had pushed for Earth's destruction, had believed he was safe in his fortress bunker. He was wrong. The humans came in the night. The Reapers, clad in black combat armor, infiltrated the compound without a sound. By the time Vorsk awoke, he was already surrounded. His guards lay dead. And Commander Darius Khan stood over him, pulse rifle in hand. Please, Vorsk hissed, his reptilian voice shaking. I can offer you wealth. I can? Khan's gun fired. A single silent shot. Justice. One name crossed off the list. One by one, the last survivors of the Council's inner circle were found. Matriarch Stala of the Kothari captured and forced to witness the liberation of her enslaved worlds before facing execution. Zaval of the Zakari, once a powerful manipulator, found alone in a ruined space station, waiting for the inevitable. Zalvar of the Vaari, the last of the Council's warlords, led a doomed final stand on an abandoned world. When the Terran fleet arrived, his forces fought to the last soldier. But it didn't matter. Humanity did not lose. Carter himself led the final charge. And as he stood over Zalvar's dying body, he did not gloat. He did not revel in victory. He simply whispered, "This is for everyone you enslaved." Then he pulled the trigger. The last warlord was dead. The Galactic Council was truly finished. What? With the war over, the galaxy held its breath. What would humanity do now? Would they rule as conquerors? Would they crush the weaker species beneath them? Would they become the new council? The answer came in a final broadcast transmitted across every system. Admiral Carter appeared on screen, his face stern but calm. The war is over. The tyrants are dead. We do not claim your worlds. We do not demand your loyalty. But know this. The camera zoomed out, showing the ruins of the Council's former capital. If anyone tries to rebuild what we destroyed, if anyone dares to enslave, to conquer, to oppress. The scene cut to footage of the Council leaders being executed. We will come back. And we will finish what we started. The message was clear. Humanity did not seek power. But they would never allow tyranny to rise again. For the first time in history, the galaxy was free. No empires. No overlords. No oppressive council. The Voidborn Alliance, a coalition of former oppressed species, was formed, with humanity as its strongest protector. And as the stars settled, as the galaxy moved forward, the name humanity became something new. Not conquerors. Not rulers. But something far more terrifying to those who would seek power. The guardians of the galaxy. The last warning. The ones who end tyrants. And every species knew. Never make them angry again. As peace settled, a new message was intercepted. A signal from beyond the known galaxy. Something watching. Something that had just seen humanity's war. And it was afraid. Because humanity had won this war. But the real war was yet to come. For the first time in history, the galaxy was free. The Galactic Council was gone. The chains of oppression shattered. Humanity had done what no species had ever dared, toppled the old order and left nothing in its place. But power abhors a vacuum. And as the galaxy reeled in the wake of war, one question remained unanswered. What would humanity do now? The war was over. Across the galaxy, species celebrated their newfound freedom, while others mourned the fall of their former rulers. Some had expected humanity to claim dominion, to establish a new Terran empire. Instead, Earth was silent. No decrees. No imperial proclamations. No demands for tribute. Only a single transmission, sent to every world in the former Council's territory. A simple message. The war is over. Govern yourselves. Choose your own future. But if tyranny rises again, we will return. It sent shockwaves through the galactic community. Some saw it as an act of mercy. Others saw it as a warning. And a few understood the truth. Humanity was still watching. With the council gone, old rivalries and power struggles erupted. The Threxian warlords, now leaderless, began fighting among themselves for control of their empire. The VRE remnants, those who had survived humanity's purge, attempted to rebuild in the outer systems. The Cathari syndicates, long ruled by crime lords, tried to fill the void left by the council, turning entire sectors into lawless war zones. The galaxy was falling into chaos. And yet humanity did nothing. They waited, watched, and prepared. Because they knew that true peace was not won in war. It was won in what came after. As the galaxy teetered on the brink of collapse, a new power emerged. Not an empire. Not a dictatorship. A coalition. The Voidborn Alliance, a gathering of species that had once been oppressed by the Council, came together to form a new galactic order. Led by the Sarkari Enclave, the Kelran Nomads, and a dozen liberated worlds, the Alliance sought to prevent the rise of another tyrannical government. And at its heart, humanity. Not as rulers. Not as conquerors. But as guardians. They provided technology, military support, and guidance, but never control. When the VRE remnants attempted to reclaim their lost empire, Terran warships appeared, not to conquer but to ensure they never rose to power again. When Threxian warlords turned against their own people, Terran Reapers eliminated them in the dead of night. When the Cathari syndicates threatened to drag entire worlds into lawlessness, human fleets shut down their operations in a single day. The message was clear. The old ways were dead. And humanity was here to make sure they never returned. Not everyone accepted the new order. In the depths of space, the last council loyalists gathered for one final stand. They called themselves the True Dominion. A coalition of warlords, ex-generals, and former council elite, they saw themselves as the rightful rulers of the galaxy. They gathered their remaining fleets, hiding in the dark corners of uncharted space, building their forces in secret. Their plan? Strike Earth itself. If they could cripple humanity, they could reclaim the galaxy. It was a suicidal mission. But they had nothing left to lose. And so, they launched their final attack. The True Dominion fleet entered the Sol system, expecting a desperate final battle. They were wrong. Because humanity had seen them coming. Before they could even reach Earth, they were met by the full force of the Terran Armada. A fleet larger than any in history. And as the first shots were fired, it became clear. This was not a battle. This was annihilation. Within minutes, entire Dominion squadrons were wiped from existence. Within an hour, their capital ships were shattered. And within a day, the last remnants of the old world were gone. The war was truly over. And now the future could begin. With the final enemy defeated, the new order was secured. The Voidborn Alliance became the new galactic power, ensuring that no single species would ever rule over the others again. And humanity? Humanity stepped back. They did not conquer. They did not oppress. They protected. From the shadows, from the darkness, from the threats that would one day come again. Because while the galaxy may have been freed, the stars still held dangers beyond imagination. In the outer void, ancient signals had been detected. Unknown civilizations had watched the war. And now, they knew humanity existed. And they feared them. Because they had seen what happened when human patience ran out. And they knew. If they ever threatened the new peace, if they ever pushed too far, humanity would return. And when they did, they would bring hell with them. On a distant world, hidden beyond the known galaxy, an unknown species watched the final battle of the last war unfold. Their leader, a towering figure cloaked in shadows, turned to its advisors. "They are unlike any we have seen before," it murmured. "Should we intervene?" one of its council members asked. The leader stared at the screen, watching as humanity's fleets withdrew, their war over. And then it uttered a single command. "No. Not yet. We will wait. And pray they never come for us." The end. This concludes the story, wrapping up humanity's rise to power, their impact on the galaxy, and the seeds of future threats beyond the known universe.